My wife told me that she wants to have sex with me again very soon, and I said, well, we will need food and drinks next to us right after all that, and she said, oh, I know what we can do. We can order a motel room with room service to bring us plenty of food and drinks, and we will stay there for about nearly a year if we have to, she said. And I said, baby, that's a long time, and she said, well, we can afford it, and besides, I want to fuck you a lot, please. And I said, fine, and then I proceeded to drive her to the hotel in my red Ford Mustang convertible, and she said, we need a bigger car, and I said, this one is alright, and she said, yes, but it's still not our size, and I said, darling, a bus wouldn't be our size, trust me. She said, maybe we could make a custom car, and I said, you know what, that's a great idea. I could have it made for us while we are having sex, because I always wanted to drive a car that's not a convertible. And she said, oh great, thanks. And I said, no problem. And I went to a place called West Coast Customs, and I had them design and make a big SUV for people like us, and I paid them well to make the SUV for me and my family, and they worked on it while I was having sex with my beautiful wife at a hotel with great daily room service. And I enjoyed having sex with my wife for about 5 months, and it was finally over, and she was finally done with me. And then we went to the garage at West Coast Customs, and they told me about everything they did to the car, and I was impressed. And when I sat down in the driver's seat, I cried and said, I can actually fit in it, thank you guys. And my wife Grace Hanma was also very happy now, and she said, thanks for everything, my love. And I said, no problem, baby, I just hope we don't get any taller than we are. And she said, if we do, we can just pay these guys again. And I said, yes, we could, but they already did a lot. They reinforced our frame, gave us plenty of space in this custom bus. They actually called it a luxury bus. And she said, they are right, this thing has almost everything, even a bed. And she asked, is that a shower though? I said, yes ma'am, but I don't think it will work without water. And then I turned it on just to see, and I was surprised that real fresh water came out. And I said, holy shit honey, we have a bathroom in here apparently. And she said, really? And I said, apparently yes, that's great. And I see a big king-size bed over there along with another one. And I said, this car is like an RV with TVs in it. And she asked, how much did you pay them? And I said, $2 million. And she said, no shit, that's crazy, no wonder they gave you all this. And I said, they also put a big engine in it that's also fuel efficient, it's basically like an 18-wheeler. And she said, we don't need a house, this can be our house. And I said, you know what, you're right, but I still want a regular house please, and we need a place, I don't want to be on the road all the time. And she said, well, we've been staying in that nice penthouse in Las Vegas, could we continue to stay there? And I said, yes ma'am, it's mine, and we can definitely live there if you want to. And she said, yes, but I also want to travel with you in this big bus if you don't mind. And I said, of course darling, whatever makes you happy. And she smiled warmly. And I now have 1 more year to train and prepare, so I do 2,000 push-ups and 2,000 sit-ups and 2,000 squats and a 200-kilometer run every day for nearly a year. And I was now ready for the tournament that would decide my fate. And my wife Grace McKenna would also attend the underground martial arts tournament, where I would compete against other famous martial artists like Kao Retsu, Doppo Orochi, Kaoru Hanayama, Goki Shibukawa, Baka's good friend Pickle, my brothers Jack Hanma and Baki Hanma, Biscuit Olivia, Katsumi Orochi, and also my old military commander and trainer will be there watching. His name is General Jerry Stridham. And I said, it will be great to see one of my old military leaders again, it's been a long time. General Stridham Izou Motobi will also be there fighting. And I said, I don't want to fight that dirty bastard. I told my wife that man doesn't believe in a fair fight, or maybe I'm thinking about someone else, I'm not quite sure yet. No, I'm right, he's dirty sometimes, but I always knock him out quickly. And that other guy Chiharu Shiba, those are the guys I don't like or respect in a fight, mostly because they fight dirty. But I learned how to fight guys like that a long time ago. And my wife Grace smiled and said, I believe you will beat them, you have been training very hard. And I said, I hope I do, but I need to train with Retsu and Baki Hanma. I consider them both my good friends, and I sparred and trained with Retsu and my brother. And Baki said, you haven't lost a step, brother. And I said, I tried not to, I've been training with my wife. And he said, I see she's gotten bigger and taller just like Jack's wife Rhonda. And Baki said, I need to do that with one of my wives. I had a lewd smile and I said, I love my wife.